it's to help teachers connect technology with their environment rather than showing the children how to move a robotic man.
Yeah, the technology is a part of the presentation. It's not the whole presentation, only a part of the presentation. And you will always go back to the real world.
And our role as Montessorians is to incorporate the Montessori approach into the use of technology, specifically creative technology, and to see the relevance of the technology in the curriculum as a whole. And there are several points that we have about this, and we feel very strongly that technology does have a place in the Montessori classroom, but a very specific place and done according to the Montessori principles. And one of the biggest things that we are looking at and making sure that it stays true while we're working on this project is that in a Montessori classroom, technology should be used as a material, as a tool, as a practical life tool, as another material for learning. So Eduard, could you say something about the use of technology within within the Montessori approach, but in a Montessori classroom?
Yes, the technology is everywhere in the Montessori approach, mainly in the use we have for history. In the way we approach for history, we are not interested in history as a list of battles and disasters that happened to humanity. We are interested in show the children that, I think it was Isaac Newton said something like, we are dwarfs in the shoulders of giants, no? So living in the 21st century, we are lucky because we know what all the human beings that have lived before us know, no? Just to be born in this moment today, no? So, and we have to have gratitude for the people who try things before us, no? Some things last till today, some we discard. And, you know, I mean, somebody have a berry and died. That is not technology, but it's evolution for us, no? That now we know that we cannot eat that berry because or due to that person, no? And the same with all the inventions of humanity, no? So first of all, we need the children have that idea in mind about history and about technology, because when we think about technology, children, but adults too, think in computers, in robots, and all of that. But wheel is technology. A wedge, it's technology, no? Because with no wedge, we have no scissors. With no scissors, we have a train of things, no? And this use of the technology can finish with a computer, but can start sometimes with a computer too, no? Some people that has not good skills in handwriting, maybe writing in a computer and then cleaning or making a draft in computer, but then making embellishment on paper, no? It's better that thing that Aleksandra said in the beginning, that it's like a reward. If you make a good essay on paper, then you can go to the computer. No, sometimes it's the other way around. No? We have reasoning and we have imagination, and these two powers are in technology, no? Or technology are based on reasoning and in imagination.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's part of this Montech project, we have been allowed to use the technology timeline that Montessori Norway has developed, along with the story of technology. And it comes back to exactly what you started with, Eduard, that we look at technology through time and we get a gratitude for, had they not eaten, like your example, eaten that berry, or had we not discovered that wedge, all of the technology we have is built on something. It's built on the labor and the imagination and the reasoning of people centuries and centuries and centuries, millennia before us. And so once we begin to start there and use that as a springboard for the curriculum, the cosmic curriculum that we're using, But we can also use technology in ways, for example, none of us can go to the deep sea trenches. None of us can actually, well, very few of us will actually travel to the universe. But because we have technology, and these are, you know, the computer and the tablet that everyone's kind of a little bit skeptical of using in a classroom, or the Montessori classroom at least, these are ways that we can go out. These help us discover more using our imagination through the technology. We can actually travel and see these wonderful things and bring it back into our classroom. And that inspires the children to continue working. And I mean, it is something absolutely critical that we have started early enough to present these as tools. And Aleksandra, you were also talking about the practical life of technology. Would you like to say something about that, how we use that in the classroom?
Well, it's very important to first differentiate between the age groups. So just going back to what Eduard mentioned, the absorbent mind is active in 0 to 6. And we know that then children are really focusing on concrete sensorial experiences. And this is our main focus. But then later on, there is this shift, there is a change, and why the horizons come into place, right? So 6 to 9, 9 to 12, it's very important that we introduce other tools to go out, as you mentioned, Sarah. And I just, before I get back to practical life, I just have this quote from Dr. Montessori, and she said in her book, Creative Development in the Child, this is then our task to gather the highest discoveries that have been made in the sciences, to render them clear and fascinating, and offer them to childhood. So that's it. She tells us very directly here what we should do. We should consider the highest discoveries possible and use them in our classrooms. So going back to practical life now, your question, Sarah, it's very important that we introduce technology also step by step.
Yes.
That we break it down into smallest steps, and that we give time to children to practice with that. And again, we show it as exactly other practical life activities we do. We show it once, we allow them to practice, we want to foster independence. We have the control of error in many of those programs. Yeah. So this is considered as another material, another tool in a Montessori environment. Not sure if that was your idea.
But if you think about practical life activities, the whole purpose is to create independence in the child. It is to give them the skills for their daily life and for as they progress. And so if we have children in the year 2021 and we're not giving them skills, then of course that's when things can get abused. They're not understanding how to use them. Maybe they use them somewhere else. And if we're not giving them these presentations in the use of the technology we have around us, then that I feel is also that we're failing the children when we don't do that. We're not doing our job. Kamila, you wanted to add something there?
I absolutely agree with that, because when you think about it, and the human tendencies, the development of technology comes from our drive, our curiosity, our exploration. And as you said, Sarah, living in the 21st century, we need to spark that drive and curiosity for the children in the days that we live in. And we need to help the child develop these human tendencies to their maximum potential.
Part of the Montech project is it is the creative technology, and it is also social inclusion. And I don't know, Nicole, would you like to say something on using the technology as a tool for social inclusion?
Yes, when you work with technology, you can work together, you can work in groups, and you can talk together. You use the language, you are a group, and you explore the technology the computer or the activities, because our world is full with technology. So when we have the activities at school, we can work together in groups, and the same that Kamila said, we have the human tendency here also. We can explore together, we can we take observations together, we can conclude together, we can use the imagination together. So this is a tool we can use together to include each other.
And to continue with that idea, the inclusion of the children, maybe some of these children don't have the resources nor the means to be able to see these things with their own eyes, and using technology, they can, or have an idea of how things work. They can use their imagination to create that, or they can use the technology to visit some of these things. And this goes along with the going outs, and in a certain way where the children can, especially now during the COVID time, they can make virtual tours of different places. They could study maps. They could find even the bus stop they need to go to if they want to go somewhere, etc., etc. And then they can go deeper into that. How is a bus made? Is that technology? If I need to call to make a reservation, is that technology? And I think the answer is yes here. So it gives the children, and to include them in modern day world, let's say, it gives them an opportunity to participate.
We cannot simply ignore the fact that children are interested in technology, and we need to just find the ways to present it, to help them maybe self-regulate, because you will have children who will only want to sit down in front of the computer. We always say you need to find out what the child is interested in. There you go.
The work of the teacher is connect the child with the environment. We can say the environment, we can say the material, what is around, whatever, no? And in that time, was no computers, not computers like we know today, no, not what techniques. Technology was there because we are using this knife for this, and we use the other knife for that. We use this spoon for this, and we use that fork for that. And this is practical life. And the practical life in elementary, it's experiments. When you carry out experiments, demonstrations, that is practical life. And you use tools. And technology is part of that tools, no? There is a quote from Dr. Montessori, I think it's in What You Should Know About Your Child. And she said something like, I have studied the child. I have taken what the child has given me and expressed it. And this is what is called the Montessori method. So Montessori method is nothing. It's other people say this is Montessori method, but the Montessori method, it's observe the child and see what the child do. No, for example, she offered a spoon to a child and saw and observed what the children do with the spoon. And then she developed activities, exercises. At that time, she cannot do that with some technology we have today. 1 century later. Yeah. But we think we need to have that experimental approach. But I think one of the principles of the Montessori method, if we can say method, it's to give roots, consistent roots, then you can have wings, no?
Yeah.
You need roots and then you can have wings, no? Because if you only have wings, you are flying, but even the birds cannot be flying for the whole day, no?
What it comes down to, combining the technology and the Montessori method, is not only teaching the child what a computer is, but it's also showing them the limits of it and the responsibility of it. It's teaching the child, the elementary child, freedom and responsibility, especially when we're talking about technology in the modern day.
Because one of the characteristics of the elementary children is moral code, okay? And today there are a lot of things that are possible with a computer. Can I take your work and copy? Of course I can. Can I take a song from my favorite singer and copy it? Of course I can, but it's moral. They are topics to discuss with that children. That is very good to have that to discuss with elementary children, no?
I'm just thinking that it's important to keep in mind that technology is not isolated, that we can always combine it with concrete experiences. But we start with those plugged activities, so the way we called it in Montech, right? We have, unplugged activities first, and then we go to plugged. So we want to experience concepts, work on it, hands-on activities, exactly what Montessori said. So we are not, walking away from the principles. We are working on the materials. We can have projects. We can explore a given basic concept, and then gradually we can move on to more abstract. And this is where technology comes in place. So plugged activities, what we called in Montech. And it's very important to have this transfer, transferable skills. If the child has learned something hands-on, and now to see it on a screen and make this connection.
Especially now under the COVID, we used a lot of more technology, and a lot of teachers have to use a lot of technology they had not used before. So I think it's a very interesting topic, and it's very important also for Montessori schools. Yeah. And technology and school is more than writing on a computer or using Google. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
We had this. I had this discussion with a fellow Montessorian just the other day. It's not enough just to know how to touch type, use Word and an Excel spreadsheet. It's so much more. And I think that's where we're heading. We really need to see it as part of the curriculum, integrated in all the things that we do. It has to be part of the reality in our classroom.
And I'm just thinking, technology gives us a way of enriching the existing Montessori materials. They have been devised some years ago, right? And now we have this opportunity to take them a step further. So you mentioned the culture cards or nomenclature cards, and my favorite example here with the box of the cards I got here in Italy, and I got so excited. It's the matching set for the birds, and then you can have the app, on your phone, and you can listen to all those birds. I was so excited. I had the whole session just for myself. So it's probably all ages, not only at school. So nice. And we have this discussion as well, how to make matching cards more attractive, what to do with those cards in the classroom. So there you go. You have another option.
But then it's also important that you take that lesson and then go back out into nature, go back out and see if you can recognize some of those. So it's not just, isolated. We do the hands-on stuff, then we do the technology, and then we move on. But we relate it all the way back, constantly going back to, now let's go out and actually, that silence and listening to our surroundings. Can we hear any birds? Can you imitate them? And then we're into music and the rests in music where there's no sound and we're listening. There's so much that can come all the way around.
Making a robot go forwards and backwards is not about a robot going forwards and backwards, but it's rather about mathematics and physics. Yeah, and the calculating the circumference and measuring the wheel and distances. It's all integrated, and I think that's one thing that the children really need to understand, that technology is not fun. It's really a tool that we use on a daily basis.
Or maybe Kamila, teachers should understand that.
I think teachers might be the ones who are more reticent on there. Nicole,
this is the reason the guide is being written. It's to help teachers connect technology with their environment rather than showing the children how to move a robotic man.
Yeah, the technology is a part of the presentation. It's not the whole presentation, only a part of the presentation. And you will always go back to the real world. Yeah, You always give the presentation and afterwards you go out and you look for the real world.
Think about when we're doing negative exponents and we're talking about, the beginning of the universe and time to the negative however many, and the calculations, like how can we ever get a number that is that small? How many places in the decimal system do we have to go? And what technology was needed? Again, how did they ever come up with this? How did they ever find this out? What did they use to calculate all this? And everything around us is everything we know. We can find information on Google, but everything we can find out has been discovered and continued through technology. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope everyone has gotten a little inspired to add more technology in a good way, in a scientific way, to add the technology and to integrate it into the Montessori classroom.